Listen, you smell something?
Human emotions are materializing in the form of a viscous psychoreactive plasm with explosive supernormal potential.
What a discovery, a psychoreactive substance.
Do you know what this equipment is used for?
Boggle or Super Mario Brothers?
We'll have fun!
Yeah!
They're still doing it. Really quite good work there.
My friend, don't be a jerk.
We've got no choice. Call the Ghostbusters.
Super Jackpot!
Welcome to Extraplasm Podcast. It's the only podcast on the internet that's considering running the Mexican border to smuggle back donuts themed after America's favorite paranormal investigators. I'm your host, Jim Maritato, aka Think Maniac on the internet, and I'm happy to be back with you this week as we're rejoined by friends of the show, Nick Ferrara and Matt Daniels. Nick is, of course, the caretaker of Ecto-1NJ, the authentic Miller meteor replica that you've heard me and Jason Fitzsimmons rave about over and over again from the times we've ridden in it and had a great time. And Matt is, of course, his creative partner in crime, as well as the brains and the on-screen personality for the Experience Explorers YouTube channel. Nick and Matt join us this week to share some fun stories, fill us in on what Ecto-1NJ will be doing this Halloween for Ghost Tours, for NYCC, and to tell us a bit about what their new entertainment space full of movie cars and retro culture is going to be like in New Jersey, as that is beginning to open up. And so you're going to find out a bit about the new things that they have under their sleeves that they're kind of revealing to everybody as we get closer and closer to Halloween, as well as new information about how to book ghost tours with them in New York City. If you want to drive around New York City and be in an Ecto-1, which, I mean, who doesn't want to do that? It's totally amazing. So it was really great to catch up with Nick and Matt, as the last time we were all together was at the 40th anniversary event at Hook and Ladder 8 back in June. And our conversation this week was a really fun one that had me laughing quite a bit. So I'm totally excited to share it with you this week as well. But before we can get to our guest chat for the week, we need to dig into some Ghostbusters headlines.
Still making headlines all across the country, the Ghostbusters are at it again.
Today, the entire eastern seaboard is alive with talk of incidents of paranormal activity.
Phone-in topic today, ghosts and ghost busting.
Extra plasm, read all about it. Ghostbusters headlines coming at ya.
There's not really anything to report on official studio media news this week, which is not all that surprising given that Sony and much of the creative team we consider Ghost Corps is deep in the throes of celebrating the release and critical acclaim of Jason Reitman's new film Saturday Night. And if there's any forthcoming news about Ghostbusters media, New York Comic Con might be the next place that we hear it. But that doesn't leave us with any absence of merch news and even a little video game news this week to chat about. So let's start off with some merch news. And perhaps the biggest and fastest merch news of the week, HalloweenCostumes.com announced pre-orders for a nearly 7-foot tall Garaka figurine mounted on a metal stand with glowing eyes. It looked amazing. It cost $600. And if you're wondering why I'm speaking in the past tense about it, it's because it's gone, and apparently it's never coming back. Ghostbusters News has the story that this item was released on September 30th, only to be sold out within the day, and as it turns out, only a very small number of these were actually ever produced, and there won't be any more of them coming. So if you're among the lucky few, congratulations, then you are going to be the happy owner of a nearly 7-foot tall Garaka that has glowing eyes in 3 different modes that they can glow in on a big metal stand, which is pretty awesome. But for the rest of us, if you didn't get one, there's always our friends over at Die Geisterjäger, who have illustrated that they can build one, so why not build one for the rest of us? Come on. We can ship those internationally, can't we? Perhaps the second biggest news of the week is the 12-inch variety of news, which is Blitzway. They have revealed that they are releasing an updated take on the original 4 Ghostbusters figures that they put out in 2017 with brand new head sculpts. These are going to include brand new design sculpts of Ray and Peter during their encounters with Slimer, including the shot of Ray holding the cigarette dripping off his lip, which is sort of hilarious that somebody had to sculpt that for Blitzway for high-end detailed stuff, and I'm kind of highly amused by it. These are arguably the best head sculpts we've seen on a variety of figures in this format, like probably all year from my perspective, but of course they're going to come at a price. When they'll be released or what their retail cost will be is not clear yet, but given the cost of the last set of Blitzway figures that came out in 2017, they're likely going to cost several $100s each. If you want to see these figures and the new head sculpts, head over to Ghostbusters News to check out the photos. Jason's got some great coverage of them from a convention that I believe was in China. Not like a comic book convention, I don't think. I think it was more like a toy convention, but I digress. Let's talk about something else you probably can't get despite being more available than things that aren't out yet and things that have been completely canceled after being revealed quickly. Krispy Kreme has a limited time assortment of Ghostbusters themed donuts, but as of yet, these have not shown up in the United States, which is why I'm considering running the border because they're only being advertised in Mexico. In related news, your podcast host really knew nothing about Krispy Kreme having a presence in Mexico up until last week. So what do you know? That's a thing. So this donut assortment apparently includes a Slimer donut that has lemon filling and chocolate donuts. It has the Ecto Sprinkles donut, which is an original glazed donut with neon sprinkles and coating. What kind of coating? I'm not really sure, but I'm guessing it's some sort of, maybe paranormally themed coating. I don't know. A Marshmallow Man donut, which is right up my alley, a marshmallow frosting and chocolate Marshmallow Man donut, and a Ghostbusters donut, which is chocolate coating, Oreo cookie, and a chocolate ghost. So these all have little images on them that are on them that I'm describing to you as I'm like, what is a chocolate Marshmallow Man? How do you make that? Well, it's kind of a design, an icing on the donut. I would love to see these come to the United States. With that being said, it was like 10 years ago that Krispy Kreme last had a Ghostbusters promotion in the US and Canada to celebrate the 30th anniversary. And their other promotions involving Ghostbusters have usually happened outside the United States. So I'm not holding out hope, but rest assured, if they do show up here, I'm going to go get myself a Marshmallow Man donut. And to be real, I'm probably not going to run over the border to try and get it because that's a bit of a far place to go to Krispy Kreme for a Ghostbusters donut. But if they show up here, I'm definitely going to hit that up. Let's talk about some things you can get right now. And that's Puma's Ghostbusters collection, which launched earlier this week on the 1st. While a lot of the size variety has become limited given what's sold so far, up for offer are the 2 Ghostbusters Suede XL sneakers in Stay Puft theme white, red, and blue, and the Slimer themed green, yellow, and white shoes. And it's really clear from the stock on these that the Stay Puffs are the clear winner of this particular, shoe battle, which doesn't entirely shock me given how well the K-Swiss Stay Puft shoes sold in the past and how many people I personally knew who were bummed when the Reebok shoes only came out for mini puff sneakers in kid sizes. So I'm not really shocked to see that the Stay Puft shoes took off here. But that being said, there's also 2 Puma and Ghostbusters collaboration t-shirts that are available, one in black featuring Slimer and one in white featuring Stay Puft. Again, size options here are a bit limited. Most of the sizes above large are sold out, but if you're interested in the shirts, you can grab them for $35 each. The sneakers will run you $90 each, and there's like a 20% off coupon like right on the Puma website, so you can probably save some money, which is really not bad for an officially licensed set of sneakers, honestly. Like if it's $90 for a pair of sneakers, you'd pay that even without a Ghostbusters license attached to them. So bravo to Puma for making this work at a pretty reasonable price point. And if you want to see what these shoes look like up close, well, go check out Jason Fitzsimmons' unboxing video over on Ghostbusters News, where he did a great job of reviewing these and showing them off really well for you on camera. Now, if you're thinking about t-shirts and you're bummed out that you can't get a Puma shirt in your size, there might be hope for you yet. The Gap has released a new t-shirt in charcoal gray, or a color that they call Panther, that features the Ghostbusters logo on the left breast and a big classic piece of Stay Puft key art on the back. I would tell you how much it costs, but if you find it on one day of the week, it might be $19.95, as it was when Ghostbusters News found it. And on another day, it might be $27, but there also might be a store-wide sale or a coupon code. The point here is this: do some searching, and you can usually find ways to save money on the Gap's website and score this for way cheaper than its apparently normally listed price of $40. So don't pay that much for it, because there's no reason to. But it is a pretty cool shirt. If you want to get another Ghostbusters shirt, who doesn't need another one? And typically, shirts that come from the Gap are not total trash in terms of their quality. So it's worth taking a look at if you need another Ghostbuster shirt in your collection, or just as things to wear because you don't just collect clothes and put them somewhere to gawk at. What? We don't all do that? If you've ever wanted a containment unit for your home or your office, you may now be in luck, provided you're okay with a containment unit made of cardboard. Party decor company Prime Party has announced that they'll be offering a containment unit that's capable of receiving their Ghost Trap Party Favor boxes, which is kind of neat. It's an interactive display that they describe as being 25 inches wide, 38 inches tall, and 4 inches deep when fully assembled. It apparently comes in 5 pieces of flat packed cardboard, which you then fold together and I guess insert slot A or piece A into slot B kind of thing to put it together from 5 flat packed pieces. This all sounds really great at first to me, until you find out the price point for 5 pieces of flat packed cardboard is $65 plus shipping, which, I mean, I gotta say, like, when I'm telling you that I think the Puma shoes are reasonably priced at $90, I have a hard time swallowing that the cardboard containment unit is well priced at $65 plus shipping. So, I'm not really sure I'm gonna run out and grab this. I have a personal feeling that, like, I want less cardboard packaging in my life that I don't need. So I'm kind of not compelled to go out and buy cardboard packaging that I don't need. But, it is kind of cool. If you have kids and you want to have a cool interactive thing that's going to happen that's better than pin the tail on the donkey, it's probably a thing worth picking up, especially if you can find a coupon code for Prime Party once this thing goes live. It is not yet available for pre-order. You might go to their website and see that it says it's sold out, but that's not really true. It's just that they haven't actually put it up for sale yet. And so as a result, their website is defaulting to saying that it is sold out. Okay, let's talk about some video game news for a couple minutes. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, last week I said must be getting somehow close to doing something because after all, Halloween's coming and they typically do something to, dress up the firehouse for Halloween. And what do you know? It was like literally 24 hours later that the Halloween decorations appeared in the firehouse, and you could now customize your Ghostbuster with the various cosmetics that are available, such as the Samhain pumpkin and the killer clown looking thing and the big-eyed alien that looks like a giant eyeball that's going around. It actually looks like this giant eyeball that I put in my window at Halloween, which is really creepy. That it kind of looks exactly like it. There's a robot, and there's this like ugly green-faced witch that I have been playing as for no good reason whatsoever. This doesn't really change your gameplay experience in terms of how you play. It just changes how you look, and it's kind of fun. But it's nice to see that the Spirits Unleashed Halloween pack is sort of back and out there for the month so that you can enjoy Halloween inside your personal Ghostbusters firehouse. And hopefully this means we're going to see the DLC as well within the next couple of weeks, because we do know that there should be another downloadable content pack coming that has the Scolari brothers, we presume, in it, since we've been told that there's trouble or double trouble down at the SCY courthouse, I believe is what the tagline was for the roadmap when it came out a few months ago. So, pretty cool. I'm excited to see those decorations back in the firehouse and for them to sort of be re-rolling that back out again. But I'll be more excited when we get the next DLC and we see what it adds to the game. And if you are not really a Spirits Unleashed player, but you're a Grand Theft Auto player, then you should know that, each year there's this sort of thing that happens in Grand Theft Auto Online where they do this Ghosts Exposed thing where they kind of have this set of paranormal investigators who go out and take photos of things as missions. And there's a car called the Albany Brigham, which is essentially a Cadillac Miller Meteor without the entire roof rack on it. And the Ghosts Exposed essentially has its own livery on the car and whatnot and logos. This year, they are going to be doing that again, although it's kind of been revealed as a result of a leak from people seeing content that's not yet available for people to play, but it's essentially something that's come out from people being able to break into the game data and see what's coming next. So a few leaks have resulted in finding this out. Ghostbusters News reported on it for sure. And let people know about it. So if you are a fan of Grand Theft Auto, expect that activation is going to be happening within the game pretty soon, where you'll be able to participate in some analogous ghost busting. One of the things that is in that update apparently is going to be a flight suit, which is kind of cool. So it's not exactly a Ghostbusters flight suit to avoid copyright issues likely, but it is a flight suit. So if you're a Grand Theft Auto player and you want to be able to run around and do missions where you kind of bust ghosts by taking photos of them, go and check that out when it drops. Let's talk about some fan merch for a couple moments. I want to tell you about something cool and amazing that they are putting out from Phantasm Shop or Phantasm Toys. You all know that I love me some Phantasm stuff, and Tony Taylor and Brendan Pearce are amazing people who come on this show and help provide logos for the show and etc. But this latest thing that they have coming out is probably the coolest thing that I've seen them put out in a while, and it's called Revenge of the Spooks. If you are a fan of, old school Ghostbusters toys, there's a really good chance that you remember back in the day in the 80s, there was a bootleg toy line that was called the Spook Chasers. And there were a series of mini ghosts that came with them that were like, essentially knockoffs of the mini ghosts from Ghostbusters from the Kenner line. And instead, they were their own independent characters, though. They weren't like, just copies. They were their own thing. And they had their own characters and whatnot, and they all looked a little bit different. Well, essentially, Revenge of the Spooks is a Spook Chasers-inspired kind of line that essentially is a 4-inch tall figure that is a ghost that is armed with this sludge pack on its back that it can then spray and shoot things at humans. So essentially, if you're also a fan of the People Busters from Real Ghostbusters, those are completely different characters. But if you can think of that concept as kind of analogous, where Revenge of the Spooks is the sort of beginning of a set of characters that are going to be, out there as the spook crew to try to ensnare any human who dares to cross their path, as the copy on this says. So this is a really cool figure. The design on this is outstanding. I'm so excited to see Brendan and Tony bringing this out. They've got a few other things out that we've talked about in the last few weeks. They have their Game Boo figure out. They have a new version of Ecto Ghouler out that I've talked about, and those are still available on the website. But the Revenge of the Spooks figures are essentially going to be pre-order items that are not mass produced. They're going to be producing these like individually one at a time as a result of a pre-order. And those pre-orders are going to close on the 18th of October. So essentially you've got about 15 days from today. If you're listening the day the podcast comes out, it will take about 8 weeks for your item to ship because these are going to be individually handmade. They're not made in a mass produced fashion, but they are freaking cool as hell. I mean, I really want one of these because it's probably the most unique thing that Tony and Brendan have put out in a while. And that really just is its own character that will fit really well though alongside the rest of my my collection. I think about this and there's a figure that kind of breaks away from the recent Gum Goblin they did that was really outstanding, but also kind of illustrates a lot of the same new sorts of features in terms of how they're designing and the posability that they're doing. So I'm really excited about this. You can grab this for $80. It's over on Phantasm Shop. Is that price a little high for a figure because you hear me complain about high prices on containment units? You could argue that, except that this is a handmade like art piece as opposed to a flat packed piece of 5 sheets of cardboard that somebody thinks is worth $65. I'm never getting a Prime Party sponsorship, everybody, just in case it wasn't clear. But maybe someday I'll get a Phantasm sponsorship when things go big, when Brendan and Tony make it so huge that they just decide that they're going to pay for extra plasm to happen and it's going to just become a complete shill product that does nothing but sell their toys. I digress. These are all terrible ideas I'm not really going to do, but you should totally go check out Revenge of the Spooks because even if you don't order it, it's amazing. It's just a really cool design. I really think it's fantastic and you should see what Brendan and Tony put together because it rocks. And the other thing I want you to keep in mind at a fan merch level, keep in mind that the pre-orders, or rather the order date, the payment date for the containment units signings at Frozen, or rather Spooky Empire. I almost said Frozen Empire because there'll be a bunch of Frozen Empire people there. But if you are looking to get anything signed by Celeste O'Connor, or if you're looking for something from Ian White or William Atherton or Ernie Hudson or Kevin Mangold, any of the folks that we talked about last week in the episode with Matt Sanders, your cutoff date to get that order in and to make your payment is literally tomorrow. If you're listening on the day the podcast comes out, it is Friday the 4th. So don't miss out on that. You can reach out to Matt at ghostbustersautographs@gmail.com. I think is one way to do it, but probably the better way to do it is to go to the Spooky Empire webpage, go to the guest link, and then click on the icon for Category 5 autographs. That'll open up the email box for the specific email address they're using for this that escaped my memory at the moment as I'm recording the podcast. So not the longest set of headlines this week, which is okay. Hopefully we're going to find out some more big things that are coming pretty soon. We know that with New York Comic Con coming, there's a HasLab announcement happening. And there'll be, I imagine, some other things that will be revealed from that. And if nothing else, people talking about enamel pins that are coming from Hallmark and whatnot. But, there's some more stuff on the horizon and we'll see what it is in a couple weeks. Until then, though, we will sort of put a pin in our headlines for a moment. And we'll go now to my conversation with Nick Ferrara and Matt Daniels as we find out a bit about what Ecto-1NJ and their new entertainment space are going to be up to this Halloween season. Joining me on Extraplasm Podcast, returning after a while away. I haven't seen these two folks, I think, since probably June. Nick Ferrara, of course, the caretaker of Ecto-1NJ, and Matt Daniels of Experience Explorers YouTube channel, and of course, the most unauthorized Lars Pinfield of the tri-state area. Glad to see you both. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm good, Jim. But happy to be back. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you. Working on that. Matt, how are you?
I'm good. I feel like I need to adopt a Cockney accent now, Jim. I'm like, all right, mate, how's it going?
No.
What I need for this podcast is silence.
Well, that wouldn't be a very good podcast if we just gave out silence for the next hour. People are like, thanks a bunch. You had Matt on. You made a joke about how he's British, and so is Lars Pinfield. But for real, this is not just me being like, hey, how many times can I reference the fact that you have previously been known as British Matt? Because that was like the last time I believe we introduced you as British Matt on the podcast, which is ridiculous. But
that's true. Yeah, I'm guilty. That's my doing.
That's Nick's fault.
Right, that's Nick's fault. But I mean this more because you put out this video on YouTube where you have your home haunt out, where you are basically like a paranormal investigator who's inside of a laboratory environment, who's working on proton packs that don't seem to be working in the moment. And I'm pretty sure you filmed this like long before Frozen Empire was actually released. So
I did. Yes.
I think spiritually, you really kind of are the unauthorized Lars Pinfield of the tri-state area. Like I just think it's your persona at this point.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm gonna lean into that. I'm fine with that. I'll take it, Jim.
Yeah, you should, especially because I know that previously you were picked up, as a random Ghostbuster on the side of the road by the Ecto-1NJ during Ghost Tours. So like you've made the most of this already. Like this is a role you've been playing for a while. Like, James A. Caster's great, but Gil Kennan and Jason Reitman certainly could have come to you. It would have been fine.
Look, I'm just going to say my door is always open to those gentlemen if they wish to come knocking.
Okay, Nick, so then who are we going to figure out that you are the unauthorized version of in the Ghostbusters universe?
Throwing it back, I always got comparisons to Louis Tully, so that's as cool as I got. So I am the Louis Tully of the Ghostbusters fan nation.
Got it.
And we're both glasses wearers, Nick. So it's appropriate,
Oh yeah, I got the big
filter
round
glasses wearer. Yeah, it's good.
You know what? I guess maybe on Halloween I'll throw the throwback pic of me as Louis Tully. I got the earmuffs. I got the Spangler suit. I got the hair part going. So that is as cool as I get. Was Louis Tully? Yeah.
All right.
That blue.
Okay, I've got to see that
judicial
picture.
restrainment order. That blue thing I got from her. Yeah.
Well, then I know exactly who to play Parcheesi with. That's what we just established at this current moment. Which I think is the last time anybody actually made a cultural reference to Parcheesi was in 1984. I don't think anyone's played it since. Somebody out there right now who's a hardcore board game player is like really insulted right now. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Parcheesi's awesome. Like, I don't know.
You're going to get letters and emails.
At least one, maybe just one. It'll be like one very strongly worded email about Parcheesi and how it's the greatest board game ever and that they discovered it from Ghostbusters and it's been a lifelong commitment for them to be a professional Parcheesi player. If that person's really out there, I should probably have them on the podcast because that would be really fascinating.
I wholeheartedly agree. And then after all that transpires and everyone's playing Parcheesi, don't call it a comeback. All right, it started here.
I was thinking the last time I saw you both, I'm pretty sure it was outside the firehouse in June. I think that we were all together at the 40th anniversary and hanging out outside the firehouse. I'm pretty sure, Matt, you and I probably spent some time talking to AC Martin. I was trying to trace back the last time I saw your face, and I was like, oh, I saw your face next to AC's face because we were talking with AC for quite a bit. And Nick, I think we ran into each other, and I didn't get to see you as much, but I did ride in your car. That happened.
Yeah. So, listen, I always love chauffeuring around the Ghostbuster Elite, podcast. So it was a pleasure to have you. And it was a lot of fun. The 40th anniversary was a lot of fun having those three cars there together. The Ecto Ohio and the Raoul's from the Midwest. Yeah, that was a lot of fun that day for sure.
It was a special day.
It was a great day, and I actually ended up taking that ride with Greg at the end of the day when he took the contest winners out to go on their tour. And so I kind of feel like I got to complete my location set because I had never been to 55 Central Park West ever. And I'd never been to the church ever in life. So I got to drive there in the car. And then I got this really cool photo. Like I went and laid down across the street and got a photo of the car, like right in front of 55 Central Park West, like looking up at the top of the roof line and everything. These people walked up next to me and they're like, what are you doing? And I was like, do you know where you are right now? And I'm like, no. And I like gave this little impromptu like lecture to a bunch of random New Yorkers who were like, what? And I was like,
you are on sacred ground, sir.
Yes. Like, do you remember when he says nobody steps on a church in my town? That's the church. Totally. Like right there. So thank you for continuing to provide the amazing resource that is the Ecto-1NJ, because I tell everybody if they ever have an opportunity to ride in it, they should, because it's an amazing experience riding in it. And you've been very kind to let me hang out.
I appreciate that. And you were always welcome in the Ecto-1NJ. I'm just, I'm glad you got as much enjoyment as you did. That's what I set out to do with that car. So
yeah. And you have built like upon what you started out with so much at this point. We're going to talk about this in the podcast today, that like you've started out like sort of doing this ghost tour thing. And it was this almost like pie in the sky idea where I would ask you about it. You came on the podcast in like episode 48 or something. And like, we're now like almost at 100 episodes. So it's like, we've doubled the number of episodes since the first time you came on. And when you first came on, it was like, well, where do you think you're going to go? And you're like, well, we're going to drive the car, and as long as it doesn't break. we're going to do as many of these tours as we can, provided it keeps running.
Until this thing's on fire, we're keeping going.
Hey, like I said then, I'll say it now. She's a working girl, all right? And I put her to work.
Yeah, and I love that car so much because, as we've talked about before, like your car has such a great story of, you know, like of a birth, a rebirth, all kinds of things that have happened to it. And it's pulled together so many great people, you know, whether it's with you and Matt having built a relationship around the car in some ways. Like Greg, of course, is somebody who you've worked with over the last few years, the Ecto Tech, who's not with us today and is off wiring up an Ecto-1A somewhere the last time I talked to him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's coming out. I'm excited. So I can't wait to see that.
It's going to be great. It's
Yeah,
really cool. So the car has done a lot. Like it's built a lot of community. It's been down at the firehouse a whole bunch. And so I'm eager to hear what else you've got going on with it, and sort of what you're building around it for this coming Halloween season and what have you. So it's great to have you both here and to sort of chat about all this great stuff. So it was great to see you both at the 40th. I do have to ask you, like, what was your favorite part about that day at the firehouse? You know, what was your favorite part about being there with all the fans and whatnot and celebrating the 40th anniversary of Ghostbusters?
I mean, for me, just meeting up with the other Ectos, you know, Lauren and Raul down right before the tunnel, and you know, having them line up, you know, side by side. I got to lead the charge into the tunnel, and Kip Miller from Let's Run Some Red Lights and the Elite 84. He got this great shot from my car with the other two in the back, and I posted it. So I think entering North Moore Street illegally, making that left with the parade of Ecto-1s was really surreal. And again, I went from having an Ecto to having it at the firehouse for that Ghostbusters Day, pulling it out a little quick, if memory serves me, to get to the point where in March I got to work the Frozen Empire, you know, world premiere at the firehouse, and then to cap it off with the 40th, to have fan alike like myself have more Ecto-1s. Like it was a lot of car on that street that day. I think my God. Absolutely. Pulling up to the firehouse with those two behind me is something that I'll cherish as a Ghostbusters fan and Ecto-1 fan. So I think that really kind of encapsulated that day for me.
You know, it's funny you say this because I don't know if you know this, but I've said it on a podcast before. I drove there. I drove to the firehouse from my sister's house in Connecticut that morning. I had been out there visiting my parents, and I don't usually drive into the city. Usually I take mass transit. So I'd found some like cheap garage a few blocks over, and I was walking to the firehouse, and I came around the corner and essentially like was walking down the street, and there was this big line of people down the side of the firehouse who were all like waiting in a merch line that was there for a long time. And I swear to you, as I hit the corner, that is when you all just suddenly rolled up. Like it was like I arrived, and so did you at the exact same moment. I had my phone in my hand, and I just went click, and I just began recording that exact same turn. Like, and immediately like poof, posted it to social media. I was like, that just happened. Like I just saw all these Ectos in a caravan, and this is like how the day is starting. And it was like, and then of course there was the fun of you all trying to park them, which is a different question of like, probably the least favorite memory of the day was yelling at all these people in flight suits, get out of the way. But
we can't get the cars in front of the firehouse. It's too many people. It was good. It was crazy.
It was amazing though. Like there was this sudden caravan of like, not just like, oh, these are Ectomobiles. Like, no, these are like Cadillacs. These are all period specific, accurate versions of the car. one of them has a gunner seat, and they're all going to suddenly just come down the street and just all make a left turn.
Well, Nick did tell me that for Ghostbusters Day next year, the plan is to install a snowplow at the front of the Ecto, just so to part the crowd more easily. That was the plan. Is that right, Nick? Is that what you said?
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why I installed we had the PA put in that Greg had put in, but it just didn't work. It wasn't loud enough. So yeah, the plow was going to come, but but you're right. Yeah, I was
a people plow.
Yeah, to have the afterlife with the gunner seat in there, Raoul's, and the Ecto Ohio, which I was excited too, because that was what I modeled my car from when I was building it, was Lauren's. So and in true Ghostbuster fashion, as we're getting ready to go through the tunnel, I think it was Lauren's car. I don't know, something, the fuel pump wasn't getting enough to the carb, so we had to zip tie something to get it to it's just typical 59 Cadillac stuff, right? So like he was following me from my shop, and like he wasn't getting power because there wasn't enough fuel to the carb. So it's just things Ecto owners understand. But lo and behold, we got there, everything was great, and it was really just a surreal moment as a Ghostbusters fan for sure.
Don't you love that Frozen Empire kind of made all those problems canon? Right? Like that movie opens with them on this chase, but the chase is also like, we don't have power. The windows won't go down. And you're like, why won't the windows go down? They're crank. Like there's no power windows in the Ecto-1. Right? Like what? The kids are too confused? Like what's the problem? But like, it's kind of funny to think about it.
And people getting electrocuted by the wiring. And
right. I would be lying if when my wife saw that, she looked at me immediately. She's like, oh, it's like your car. I'm like, yeah, okay, great. Mm-hmm, yeah. Especially when Trevor's like, it's so hot back here. I'm like, yeah, I lose like 15 pounds every October because there's no AC. So,
yeah, I'm surprised that given that even McKenna mentioned the fumes that come off of that car when she met you in your car, that they didn't put the line in the movie like, we all seem to be sucking down fumes here. Anybody else high? Like,
yeah, that's true. Yep. She said it smells like the one on set, and I get it. I get it.
Yeah, that moment, though, of you all coming around the corner was definitely very mind-blowing. And it was the beginning of the day. It was like, this is how the rest of the day is going to be, is just this deep engagement into this appreciation and fan love of Ghostbusters. And I don't know how many people like saw your car and the other two Ectos that were there, just came and interacted and took photos and all kinds of stuff. AC Martin ended up climbing in the gunner seat of the Afterlife Ecto.
That was
and took so many photos of people.
Doing. He literally, you could tell, I think Matt just like cut everybody. Yeah.
I felt bad about that. But yeah, I mean, she was kind enough to do an interview with me for my YouTube. And we were just chatting about, because obviously we met her on set and she was kind enough to take a photo with us as she was with other folks. And you could see she was just super excited to be there, kind of overwhelmed by the fandom, which I think we were all feeling. And she said, oh, I really want to sit in the gunner seat again. I'm like, let's just do it. So I just took it to the front of the line and said, look, we've got Ghostbusters royalty here. We need to put AC back in the gunner seat. And that was a pretty awesome moment. I do appreciate the people that were probably a bit miffed that I'd pushed in front of them to put her in the seat. But, so thank you to those people that were patient.
The upshot of it was that then a whole bunch of people got photos with AC in the gunner seat.
Exactly.
She was so excited to be there and was so engaging with fans. Like she signed so much stuff and talked to people. And she wasn't even like guest. She was just the person who she came on the podcast, did Extraplasm. We talked. I was like, this thing is happening. If you want to come down and hang out at it. She was like, yeah, I'd love to come out and see what this is all about if I'm not shooting on that day and I don't have a project going on. And so in the end, she ended up talking with Austin and other folks and making other connections, and then came out and got to meet so many people that she basically interacted with online. So it was really awesome. I really loved, I don't know if that was your favorite thing. I'll still give you an opportunity to answer the question of what your favorite thing from the day was, but that was one of mine. I'll say that. So
obviously riding in the Ectos was pretty epic, but as Nikki's already taken that one, I would say, I think it was meeting the people on the 40th, it was the coolest thing. So, I mean, chatting with AC was great. And what I think, Jim, we spoke about this on the day, but I was really surprised by how many people came up to me that I didn't even know that had seen the YouTube channel and were following it, or people I had interacted with in comments who came up and chatted to me. And one of the funniest things, Nick will remember this, is that Nick always jokingly says I'm from Liverpool, which I have nowhere near like a Liverpool accent. And these two kids had literally come from Liverpool to Ghostbusters Day. and the circle was complete. I'm like, Nick, this is a Liverpool accent. And they were in on the joke. It was really great. It was really great to meet them both.
And it was cool because I flew Matt's two nephews from his hometown in Liverpool out to be interviewed on his YouTube channel. So he can say it was a random thing, like, you would see a reality show in Hollywood. But I actually had prearranged his nephews. So you could sell that all you want, Matt, but we know it was your nephews that came from Liverpool.
The cat is out of the bag. The cat is out of the bag. But yeah, just meeting the people was wonderful, and also I kind of jokingly say this a few times now when bump to other content creators, but I always say, hey, we get to cross the streams, which is always super fun. And there were a lot of other folks there that like obviously like yourself, Jim, and others that I talk to online and follow online, and we were able to be in each other's YouTube videos, which was super fun. So that was kind
cool.
of funny. I'd never met those people in person before, so it was really nice to do that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed sort of getting to interact with a lot of the folks who create different content and are from different franchises. I think one of the funniest things that happened was I was walking through a crowd of people, and I don't know who it was, and if you're listening to the podcast, you're going to know it was you, but I'm walking through this crowd of people, and I was talking to somebody, and all of a sudden somebody just started looking at me, and I was like, what? And they were like, it's just weird that like you're here. Like I just heard you, and like I heard your voice, but you're here. I was like, what? Well, I usually hear you in my car when I'm driving to work, but you're here. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I don't know. I guess that's an experience that you have when people listen to your content or watch your stuff. It's like, I recognize you. But like Jason Fitzsimmons had the same moment when we were there for the premiere, that like people know his face. Like they recognize him because he's on camera. They know your face because they see you on camera. But I'm not necessarily on camera that much. So for me, it was like I would walk past people, I'd be talking about something. So you go, you're the guy from Extraplasm, are you? Yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, I'm wearing a shirt. But like, I heard you. Oh, okay.
The shirt that says Extraplasm.
It wasn't the giant logo on the t-shirt or the microphone I'm walking around that says Extraplasm on it. Got it. Like, but it was kind of awesome. It was so fun to meet so many people. I went home with so many patches, so many different pins and things from just different groups of people I met. And of course the Hasbro people were there. That was all really cool. So,
yeah.
And now we're done with the 40th. I don't know, like we're moving into the Halloween season. You all have a lot going on, I think, that we're going to talk about. Typically, the experience that you have been offering in the past, Nick, has been this Ghost Tours experience that you've done now for several years, right? That you've offered the opportunity for people to rent out the car and ride through New York City. And so what do you have on tap this year for Halloween?
Oof, it is a busy season. I went a little loony this year, I'm going to be honest with you, Jim. And not even just Ghostbusters centric. That's always, number one. But so Ghost Tours are back for October. This year, we're actually going to be doing all the booking through our booking website. So it's a lot easier than emailing me, going back and forth. You can still do that if you want to switch things up. But I think it's going to be a lot easier for people to just use the online booking platform. And yeah, the Ghost Tours, it's going to be hitting all the same spots. Obviously, we're going to add the Frozen Empire, Fifth Avenue Dragon Chase through it. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So this week, coming into October, we'll post the website, which is GothamCinemaRides.com. You head over to that website and you can book your whole party right there through, dates are open through October. We'll probably extend them to November because I always get a few people that are here through the Halloween week. So yeah, Ghost Tours are going to be back. I'm excited. I hope people are excited. Last year was a huge success. A lot of people enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Halloween season.
So when you say that there's now a Fifth Avenue sewer dragon experience, does that mean that Matt is dressing as the sewer dragon and he's going to run down Fifth Avenue and you're going to chase him with the car? Or like, how does that work?
Don't give him ideas, Jim. Don't give him ideas. You know that this is what will happen.
So
Nick's going to be calling me and go, Matt, I've got this costume for you. I bought it from China. It's totally legit. And it glows in the dark. Don't worry about what makes it glow. Don't worry about that. And remember,
inflammable means not flammable, right? That's what it means? Yes.
It looks like a Chinese New Year dragon. It's a very shimmery thing. I got it on Alibaba. They assure me it's safe. So, and Matt happens to work right on Fifth Ave. So like he's going to be during his 15-minute breaks, he's going to be dangling. And I probably will have Greg just like manually control the lever device to fly him over the car. Because, it's a group effort here. So, gosh. I didn't want to give everything away, but yeah, you'll probably see a flying dragon through Fifth Ave. So it's going to be a good time. Let's just hope it doesn't go splat.
Matt, I want you to make sure that you wear enough protective gear while you do this, because if this gets too out of hand, you might get hit with a drone.
I want to know what happens if a human gets caught in a ghost trap. Does their body get separated from their spirit like we saw in Ghostbusters? Yeah. I don't know. What would happen to me? That would be troubling.
Well, don't give away the upgrades on the Ecto-1NJ. Come on. Yeah, I got to say something.
What people can genuinely expect, though, and Nick has seen this, so it's totally true. I do work off Fifth Avenue, and Nick keeps me in touch with when the car's going past, because my team gets super excited to see the car. So you may regularly hear a bunch of people shouting from a third-story window in a Fifth Avenue building, go, "Whoa, Nick! Ghostbusters!" We've come out on the street a couple of times to kind of, because what is a Ghostbusters tour without a big crowd shouting, "Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters!" So that's definitely happened.
And will continue to happen.
It will.
Yeah. I mean, it's New York City. And we've talked about this when I've ridden in the car, that like cops who are writing traffic tickets stop writing traffic tickets and nod at you like you're cool.
Yeah.
Only in New York City.
When I was standing on the side of the road waiting for that New York Post trip that you were doing, Nick, I don't know if I told you this, but I had to get dressed in everything. I had a smoking trap and all this stuff ready to get in the car. And some guy did pull up next to me and said, What do you do? What do you do? What's all this kit for? And I was just like, I can't help it. And I said, "Oh, I'm an exterminator." I had to use the line. I'm just like, there's a cockroach further up on Fifth. And they were like, "Oh, okay." They'd obviously never seen Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Now, so I mentioned Matt is going to be flying as a sewer dragon during his breaks. But when he did that, when I had the guys from the New York Post, he came out. I'm pretty sure, Matt, that your boss saw you in the elevator dressed as a Ghostbuster, or one of your supervisors, someone higher up saw you.
I did. That was actually the day of the premiere when I was in my very Ghostbusters adorned jacket. I'd taken the day off work, and as we were in the city in the morning for the car, I thought, well, okay, I need to get changed for the evening of the premiere. So I thought, well, the office is the obvious place to do that. So I nipped into my office, and I thought, I'll be quick, nobody will see me. And I got changed, came out, and then got in the elevator. Nobody had seen me. And then it was like one of those moments in a movie where the hand comes through the door of the elevator just to stop the doors from closing. And the most senior member, like he's a super senior person in the company, walked in and was like, "Oh, leaving early?" I was like, "Oh no." But actually, he was super chill about it. He was like, "Oh, that's really cool that you're getting to do that." So that was nice. But, it was a moment where I was like, oh no, maybe my fandom for Ghostbusters is going to cause me a problem with the thing that actually earns me money.
You come back later on and he's like, "You're actually being moved off campus."
Permanently.
You like Ghostbusters so much, huh? You know this scene?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's great that you guys are doing ghost tours again, and that Matt may or may not be running around as a sewer dragon in the streets of New York City during it. But having said that, like, I've been in your car several times, and the first time you came to pick me up was like down on 6th, so we got to do that run. Like, that was the new leg of the ghost tour. where you grabbed me first and kind of took me on that route. It was very exciting to drive through there and kind of point at all the stuff and be like, that's a spot. That's a spot. That's cool. So yeah, I think that's one of the most exciting things about riding around your car is not just like, okay, cool, you're riding around the Ecto-1, which is amazing, but then you visit all these spots from the movie. You have this opportunity to take photos at the library or at 55 Central Park West, etc. And I think it's funny to watch that happen because people like pile out in flight suits. They get out, like the car shows up first. Everyone on the street is like, oh my God, the car. And then all of a sudden, like people in flight suits pile out of the car and everybody's like, oh my God, what's happening? And it's this like crazy experience. And the last time I got to see it happen was Greg was driving the winners of I think it was the auction when I took the ride with him. And he parked on the opposite side of the street from the library. He didn't pull up right next to it. He parked on the other side of the road. And they had to cross the street, like to get to the library to go take the photos in front of the lions and stuff. So here's the Ecto. It pulls up. He throws the lights on. People are piling out and walking across traffic in flight suits. And I'm standing there like, this looks like they are responding to a bust. Like it cannot look like anything else.
There's nothing about any of that ever gets old, though, Jim. That's the thing. Like, I was gonna say, I think this is correct, and Nick can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it was myself and my family that took the first ghost tour. I think it was before it was an official thing, and so we were kind of like a test audience. And I mean, we've talked about this before, Jim, because there's the whole video of it's there, so you can see how overwhelmed I am with the experience on the video. I'm just red in the face the whole time. But what's interesting is I've been in the car now multiple times since then, which is, again, something I never thought would happen. But it still doesn't get old. It just doesn't get old, no matter how many times you do it. The energy that comes from that combination of the streets of New York and the Ecto-1 on the street of New York it's magical. It continues to be magical. I'm excited that you're out doing these ghost tours again this year. And I really like to suggest to people, like, if you have not done this before and you're in the tri-state area, this is absolutely worth your trip into the city to go do, because you'll have a blast doing it. And then you can spend the day like in the city doing all sorts of other things that there are to do in New York City that are great, including eating pizza and bagels, which are, of course, two of the most important things a person can ever do in New York City. But beyond the ghost tours, like, I think that you've been building a bit this year, right? And sort of increasing your offerings and some of the things that the two of you are doing together for this Halloween season. So what else you got cooking?
Yeah, so I'm actually really excited. So the thing about having an Ecto is I get requests all the time from like Philadelphia to Boston to Georgia and they all want to see the car. And I mean, you've been in the car. It's not exactly fuel efficient. There's always something leaking. So I invested in a place close to my home because I needed to store the car, and I decided to invest in a few other things. So this, take Matt, you laugh. So this fall coming up, hopefully in the next week or so, people are actually going to be able to come to the shop where the car is stored. And not only see a Ghostbusters Ecto-1, but you're going to be able to see a DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future. We have a 1989 Michael Keaton Batmobile replica. We have a screen-used Gotham City police car from the show Gotham. We have a Lightning McQueen replica. We have a Jurassic Park Wrangler that's going to be on its way in the next couple days. So I'm inviting people, if you will, into my home, and it's a memorabilia shop as well. So when you come in, there's two sections of it. There's a garage aspect, and then there's all the memorabilia you could possibly imagine. So like Matt's obviously been there plenty because he's the creative director here, and he sees the amount of toys that have been sitting in storage for years that I've finally been able to take out. And, it's exciting. And the coolest thing about this is you'll be able to come see the cars. You take pictures with the cars. But what me and Matt have come up and devised is the shop area that we have. You're going to be able to book parties up to right now. I think 15 is where we're going to be at. but we're going to run almost like a drive-in theater where you're going to be able to sit in the Ecto-1 or any of the other cars that I mentioned and actually watch the movie on this huge projector screen that we have in the shop. So, obviously, you can have a couple people in the Ecto, and then we'll have some theater seats on the side, but you'll be able to come in with your party, sit, take pictures with the Ecto, run the lights when the car comes out of the firehouse for the time, run the siren if you want. So I really think it's a cool experience. And that, Jim, I've been on here a couple times, and we've obviously talked off your podcast as well. My whole thing is I want to deliver fun experiences to fandoms, specifically Ghostbusters for the Ecto-1. And this is going to give me the ability to do that. So folks that I can't drive down to see Philly, come up for the day, come hang out. It'll be an experience. You'll get to see a lot of cool retro stuff, a lot of old toys, arcade games. The direction that Matt's given it, with the lighting that we're doing, it's going to be a really, really cool place to come visit.
And where is it located?
So it's in Lyndhurst, New Jersey. So it's probably 15 minutes outside New York City, if you come on the Jersey side. So it's close. So you can take the day trip, come see the Ecto, watch Ghostbusters, go to the firehouse, go to you could do a tour and then watch the movie at night if you want. You want to make a whole day of it.
Right. That's amazing. That's so cool. And I love the fact that like you basically now have like a home base to be able to sort of share these different cars you've managed to put into one environment, right? And sort of bring people in and invite them in to experience the car. That's kind of funny that you said like, I like the idea that you said that you got this place because gas is expensive, right? And so like driving the car back and forth between, but gas is also like means you don't have to take the car out as much people to enjoy it, which also is a way to save on gas, which I think is kind of funny. But like on the one hand, you don't have to drive as far between home and wherever you got to take it, but it also means that you can reduce how much wear and tear you put on the car while sharing it, which I think is smart. Like it's just these vehicles are old, and the more you drive them, the more they're at risk, right? So if you can create opportunities for people to enjoy them and not make every single one of those opportunities be as harrowing in terms of risk aversion, right? Like every time you all take the car out, I'm like, the glass. I'm so scared for the glass.
and something else, obviously as people saw my car be built, and so many people out there have reached out to me and like, what piece do you use for this? How do you find the donor car? So there's actually, so I did buy last year a 1960 Miller Media Futura duplex. So obviously Ghostbusters is a 59. So we're going to be doing a 60 to 59 conversion. So that car is actually on the other side of the shop where the drive-in area is. So when people come, they'll be able to see the car as it's being built on the other side. So they can come take a look at it. It's a total frame off restoration. I mean, bare bones, stripped down. We got a 59 donor for the quarters and the front clip. So, something else people that are always interested is how the car is built. Well, now you're going to be able to see it firsthand. You're going to be able to see what this thing looks like stripped down and how it gets built from the ground up over the course of the next 6, 7, 8 months, however long it takes.
And what's the plan for that incoming car that you have? Me
and Greg had always talked about doing a 1A, right? So now Greg and Marty, they have their 1A. I'm not stepping on anyone's toes. They're doing a phenomenal job with that. I do like the idea of doing a Frozen Empire. I was iffy on the red racing stripes, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, you could remove them if you want. But the thing that got me the most, and I think I screenshotted this to Matt as soon as I saw it, was Possecto, right? So when the car gets possessed in the movie and it turns red, I have enough red light domes, and I'll put the LEDs in, and I will create Possecto, and that thing will just drive around like Christine, all over New York City. So
do you know that like one of my podcast mysteries is wanting to track down the original siren noise that was used for that? The possessed, like weird off tone, like off key possessed siren sound that got buried in the sound mix from that scene. If you go back and listen to it, like there's this like warped, screwed up siren sound that it has that I'm like, oh my God, we need that for everybody's Ectos.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed that it was so quick because I was hoping that thing would just be possessed riding around in New York City like it was in one of the cartoon episodes. And that is my game plan, is to get that thing at looking like it's possessed in New York City. So I do think for that build, it's going to be probably a Frozen Empire replica. I'm going to see what we can do with the gunner seat. To see if we can recreate that and then do some fun stuff inside, as you know, mine is custom inside. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff, at the shop. And I do have one last thing that I'm planning on doing. So when you do come, the shop it has this really weird metal frame outside the garage door. So, you know, I was talking to Matt about some things and I'm like, you know what we should do? I said, I want to recreate the aesthetic of the firehouse. So I have the team that originally put together my Ecto. They gave me an estimate. So we're actually over the garage door. We're going to create a smaller version of Hook and Ladder number 8. So it's going to look like the car is coming in and out of the firehouse in New York City.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, that'd probably be a spring thing now, but yeah, it'll eventually get done. And I have these lockers that I just bought. I'm putting up this fake green and white tile to make it look like the aesthetic from the actual firehouse, and it'll look like the lockers that they got changed in, and we'll hang the suits and everything.
That's awesome. I'm like, I can't go inside the actual firehouse in LA, and even if I did right now, those green and white tiles wouldn't be there because they would be somewhere in a box, presumably, as long as they still exist. So now I'm like, okay, cool. Let me come to New Jersey and go to your facsimile of a firehouse that I will enjoy, especially because you'll be there and the Ecto-1NJ will be there and an Ecto in Progress will be there and the DeLorean will be there and Batman cars will be there. And oh my God, there's so many things.
It's awesome. And it's like, there's also basically a Dave and Buster's there as well. Like there's so many retro gaming machines and everything. It's pretty freaking awesome.
Well, yeah, I know where I'm having my 50th birthday party. That's
we'd be happy to have you. But yeah, it's like walking into a time capsule. And that's what I kind of wanted to facilitate there, is like all these 80s and 90s. And it's more than just Ghostbusters. Obviously, that's always going to be the hallmark. But, you know, we have Ninja Turtles, we have Thundercats, we have everything you could possibly imagine, Saturday morning cartoons, you know, that are always on. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And like Matt said, we have some throwback arcade games, and we have some of the new sit-in like Jurassic Park and Transformers and Mario Kart and pinball and Batman driving games. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, when I was last down there, I got a little distracted by the Jurassic Park game for maybe...
Everyone gets to... forget it. Everyone does with that game. It's and everything's free play, right? So when you come in, you play as long as you want. I'm not stealing your quarters or anything like that. So everything's free play, and yeah, it's a good time.
That's really awesome. I now want to go to there. I want to leave my house in California and I'll just come run a pizza food truck. I'll just run it, park it outside this place and convince people they have to come there and then serve them pizza for money. It's a great idea. I like this idea.
Let's do it. And we have all the Ghostbuster props on display. We have, you know, the HasLabs. We have custom built proton packs. I got the slime blowers. I got a slime blower from the folks that got married at Ghostbusters Day a couple of years ago. They built me one. I just got it into the shop. Have a gig meter, you know, everything that you could imagine prop wise as well. You're going to be able to see and check out as well as other things. I got a TGRI can from Ninja Turtles and a Shredder mask. What you got? The T-1000 from Terminator 2, I think is in there. A bunch of stuff from Back to the Future. We have George McFly's famous book, as well as Doc Brown's the hoverboards there. So, yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff that we're trying to implement in there.
And we just picked up the JVC camcorder as well, didn't we? From that they use in the movie as well. We have the JVC camcorder, which is fun.
Yeah, that marketplace is a trove of wonders.
It is. It is.
That's pretty amazing. I definitely need to look. I've often said that like getting me back into New Jersey is a challenge. Like once you escape it, if you go back, you might not be able to escape again. But and you're giving me good reason. I just want to say that. Like, you're giving me some good, valid reasons to re-enter New Jersey for sure.
And listen, you start with an Ecto, and then I find Ghost Tours. I got to keep people entertained. Like, I mean, at some point, they're guys like, Nick, what are you doing? This is all you got now? Like, I got to keep going. I mean, I don't know if my wife loves that idea, but I'm just going to keep pushing the envelope. So yeah, it's like I said, it's all a lot of fun. And for me, I can work, have, people come in the shop, enjoy themselves. So, I think, it's going to be a home run for everybody that comes in, and a lot of fun for sure.
That's awesome.
I was going to say, what Nick's saved in gas mileage of running the Ecto to these distant locations, he has reinvested dramatically in this venue. So you won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed.
You know what? All that money that I saved from not paying Easy Pass because they got billed to somebody else, I mean, I'm just rich now.
Somebody with the Ecto-1 plate is getting a lot of bills in the mail. That's all I can say.
I want to go on the record to say that my car is registered in the state of New Jersey. I have an Easy Pass, and I've paid every single toll, including congestion fees. Thank you very much, Mayor of New York. Okay, so whoever's getting Ecto-1 bills for Easy Pass, it is not from me.
All right, that's fair. All of this sounds amazing, and I absolutely need to now come to New Jersey, even though I routinely say I won't go back there after having escaped living there, and saying that there's no more Garden State for me, and I will never use a jug handle ever again. But now you're giving me reasons, so now I'm gonna have to forget how to make left turns and use weird road signals to come hang out with you. But but what else is going on? What else do you have cooking in the hopper?
Well, so if that wasn't enough, Matt and I came up with an idea to utilize the Ecto during tour season. And we're going to be launching a YouTube series called Interviews in the Ecto. Working title, we'll figure it out, nail it down, but that's the general gist. So we're going to be taking some folks from Ghostbusters fandom, some notable people, and we're going to be interviewing them in the Ecto-1 during a tour. A couple of people that we have lined up. I know Nick at the Firehouse told us that he'd be willing to come for the day or come for an hour and do a tour. AC Martin said she wants to come do it. I do have someone a little under wraps that you'll find out around Comic-Con. So if you see the Ecto-1NJ during Comic-Con in New York City, there's a reason for that. But yeah, so it's going to be pretty cool. I want to give, a unique perspective on the interview process, talking about Ghostbusters, and what better way to do that than drive around in an Ecto-1 in New York City.
Matt, can I assume that as with your vast experience in videography and in running YouTube channels, that you're taking a principal role in this?
I might be. I mean, Nick's going to be front and center, and so is the guest. And you'll probably see me crouched in the background with a mini video village with the different feeds from the cameras. But yeah. So we're going to rig the car with multiple camera angles in the front, so we get the shots that we need, and put some cameras on the outside too. So we've got shots of the roadside. So if you see the car driving past in New York, give it away, because you may end up on the YouTube channel. And if you don't want to end up on the YouTube channel, then just, dive into a shrub or something. So you won't be on it.
We'll blur your face out. It's fine.
I think this is really cool because as somebody who's rode in that car, like, one of the challenges of being in it is you want to share the experience of what it's like to ride in the car, but it's hard to do that. Like, it's hard to film the car from inside the car. Like, obviously, and
right.
Like JD Raymer and I kind of talked about this when we went on our ghost tour back in March, that like we are both in that experience, like hanging our phones out the window, trying to capture like the wheels running, on the ground or something along those lines, or trying to get angles while you're jostling back and forth in New York City traffic with the phone in your hand is like, oh my God, what are we doing? And for him, like JD used to shoot, news and things. Just it's like he's an experienced camera person who was very good at this. And for me, I sucked at it and was awful. And it caused me to buy a stabilizer before I came back in June. but it's a real challenge to like be in the back of the car doing that, sort of trying to capture all that stuff. It's really impressive.
Yeah, well, we went back and forth on a few things and invested in some kit, and clamping and other stuff to clamp cameras in different positions in the car to try and make it as easy as possible. Because what you don't want to do is have a scenario like that where what it's all about is capturing that conversation. You want kind of honesty and openness in that conversation, and you want to lose yourself in that rather than be like, oh, this camera angle isn't great. You know, it's almost like the camera needs to, in effect, feel like it isn't there is what we're trying to go for. So, and I think we're going to be able to achieve that. And, you know, it's not a new thing to do. I mean, James Corden used to do the carpool karaoke, and and we've got the riding around with comedians in cars. So it's that kind of vibe, but with the Ecto. And it is important because, as you say, this being able to get both inside the car and outside the car is really important, because seeing those people's reactions on the street is as an important a part of the experience as the conversation that's going on inside.
Yeah. It's so hard to convey that, right? Like all at once. And part of me, I'm like, I want you to have a drone that follows you. Then I'm like, I don't think you can do that in New York City, or you'll get in a lot of trouble.
No, you can't. Only in Ghostbusters movies, where it's a pretend drone that's not really flying around. But
well, no. What if you do that?
Exactly.
What if you just dress up a camera as the drone trap, and then you just have it follow the car?
There
and nobody
you go.
asks you. You can be like, it's not. I don't know. It's not a camera. It's not a drone. It's a piece of equipment.
What Nick didn't say was that part of me dressing up as the sewer dragon is that I'm going to be holding a camera. So I'm going to basically be parasailing. There's going to be this rope on the back of the car with the huge sewer dragon. I'm going to be on a parasail with the camera and getting that kind of top angle. That's what it's going to be.
Okay, that's you defeated the drone problem.
Yeah, until we book enough tours where I could pay Matt to actually, fly the drone instead of just parade him as a sewer dragon and the stunt double. So go ahead, get to GothamCinemaRides.com right now and book your tour so Matt doesn't have to rappel from a building on Fifth Avenue.
You'll be doing me a forever kindness. I really appreciate it.
He has 5 children, folks. They don't want to miss their dad, please.
I gotta say, you put up with a lot of abuse from us, Matt. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's okay. I'm used to it. It's either my accent or I don't know. I mean, just some people find something. Yeah, it's funny.
No, you are a good sport. Good. I appreciate it. We're not really going to advocate that you should be thrown into traffic on parasails, or that you should be running in the middle of traffic with a camera.
You say that, Jim, but I don't know if you know Nick well enough to know, that might not be true.
Well, I'm not advocating for it. We'll say that.
I have no problem taking these risks myself. When we filmed the trailer for Ghost Tours, I was at the top of a ladder, hopping onto a very small conduit and, filming like I was flying down a pole. All right. So I have no problem taking some stunt risks myself.
That is true.
That's what it takes. That's what it takes to make the Ecto-1NJ experiences that good.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
know
amazing.
that you're in a guerrilla filmmaking moment where Nick is jumping off a stepladder onto a pole that's meant to look like a firehouse pole, but is actually a piece of conduit for some other purpose that we weren't quite sure what it was for. We weren't even sure whether it was going to last 1 or 2 takes. And I do have this epic shot. I think you posted it on your Instagram, didn't you, Nick, at one point, of you just sat kind of like a naughty schoolchild on the top step of this stepladder facing this conduit.
Sweating profusely in a flight suit. And I probably did that jump at least 7 or 8 times. Like, this is not just a one time. Like, I was hopping off a ladder for a good 20 minutes.
You were. That's true. It was worth it. It was worth it
for a half a second shot in the trailer for Ghost Tours to see my foot come down like a foot.
Hey.
I jumped off this ladder.
Look, it's very clear that both of you have a serious commitment to your art. Okay, whether it's you jumping off of step ladders onto poles, or whether it's Matt inviting people into a garage that looks like his lab on the Experience Explorers YouTube channel, and having them hold jumper cables that look like they're sparking and potentially scaring small children. I'm kidding. But
no, we did. We genuinely did scare some people. People were very tentative to hold those jump leads. For people that may not know, we had this gag in the So this is the Halloween haunt that we did last year, the Ghostbusters themed one that Nick was kind enough to lend us the Ecto for. But we did have a gag where they have to jumpstart a proton pack, and we made it so you put these jump leads together. There's a behind the scenes tour of this on my YouTube, but it's kind of a cool gag because when you do put the jump leads together, they genuinely vibrate. So people would touch them together and they'd be like, ah, like they were getting electrocuted. I mean, they weren't, but it was designed to, and it sparked. It didn't actually spark. It's just a flashing LED, but it looks like it's sparking. So it does kind of, it did give people a bit of a shock, which is kind of what we were trying to do, right? You want to give people a bit of an appropriate scare on Halloween. And it was a lot of fun. And of course, they always, I think the line that we used when we invited people to participate, we're like, we need somebody to help us jumpstart this proton pack. Who looks the most gullible? I think was the line that we used.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's a piece of dialogue. Who's the most gullible person? And what was always amazing
small child comes forward.
It was always everyone. I don't know how this happened, but everyone in the group always ended up pointing at the same person in the group. And it was like a kind of like unanimous moment. Like, yeah, he's definitely the most gullible. That's the person. Everyone takes a step back and they're left standing on the front row and like, all right, come on, then you're doing this.
It's so funny. I want to tell people, if you haven't seen this, go over to the Experience Explorers YouTube channel and check out Matt's video on his home haunt and the behind the scenes video. And even the stuff like on how, you did a video on like how to do cheap and easy projection. It's like if people want to create their own stuff. You've done some pretty cool tutorial videos along those lines. I really loved watching your videos because some people know that I've had my own sort of like projector show going on for probably like 5 or 6 years or not whatnot at my house. And I ended up watching your video and I was like, wait, I know all those ghosts. I use them in my show too. Sometimes they appear here as well.
Yeah. Jim sent me a copy of his loop, which I appreciate, which is super cool. But yeah, I mean, anyone that knows me know I've always been a huge fan of doing something cool for Halloween. And I think it's, for me, it's similar to Nick really, which is I think why we get on is that, I get a lot of pleasure out of seeing other people have an awesome experience. And so kind of my payday is seeing other people go through something that I've been able to create or craft and see them getting joy out of it or getting a shock out of it or excitement out of it. And it kind of, that's what powers my whole psyche is. I love doing that. So as crazy as it is to open my garage up every year to a bunch of complete strangers to do something like this, it's super, super fun. I mean, because the year before Ghostbusters, we did Jurassic World, which was super fun. We had an animatronic dinosaur and raptors and everything. And then we did Ghostbusters. Then this year, and much thanks to Nick for this, we're doing Back to the Future, because we're going to have the DeLorean from Gotham Cinema rides at the house, and it's a Back to the Future themed kind of. This year it's kind of what I'm going to call a cross between an escape room and a Halloween haunt. That's the combo.
Oh, interesting. Well, you have to escape through time. Is that part of the premise?
Yeah, but basically, I mean, it's Back to the Future, so it's got to have that. Oh, whoops, we messed something up, and now how do we fix this? And the concept for the storyline is that Doc's figured out a way to travel in time with the DeLorean without having to go to 88. And so you go into this lab where you're going to set off the experiment, and there's 2 flux capacitors, one in the car and one in the lab, and they're going to create this thing happening. I've been building the flux capacitor over the last couple of days, but then what happens is that instead of the car moving through time, the lab moves through time. So the building that you're in then ends up getting thrown back and forth through time, and you've got to figure out how to get the lab back to where it began, basically.
Oh, that's an amazing idea. I love this. I love that you guys are doing this stuff together and like working on stuff like the Gotham Cinema Rise shop and things, because like you have such a great mind for how to like make a cool interactive experience. That's one of my favorite things about watching the video that you did of the home haunt is like you took things that exist out there in the world and figured out like, how do I essentially on a reasonable budget make an interactive engagement? It's not like people just come and like, they walk through a house and there's some scary stuff, but rather there's like a narrative and a story that's playing out, almost like being in an amusement park and being at some sort of like walk through ride experience that you have to engage and help participate in order to drive it. And so like, now, like having seen that video, which I want to tell people again to go watch, I so want to go to your house and be part of like this Back to the Future thing because I want to see what it looks like when you take your house through time.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people on the channel, you know, when I do the live streams that are like, there's no way I'm going to get to New Jersey. So I promised everyone that on the YouTube, we'll do a live walkthrough over Halloween weekend. So it's running Halloween and the 2 days after. So over that period, we will do a live walkthrough for people that can't physically be there. And obviously there'll be videos on the YouTube channel later about how we've done everything and, you know, the walkthrough itself and stuff. But I know that people want to experience it. But yeah, I appreciate you making the point about the story-driven thing. I think, and this is not me, by the way, being disparaging of any other format for like a Halloween haunted house. I mean, I'm literally next week, I'm going to be Halloween Horror Nights, going to go check out the Ghostbusters haunt, and, you know, that's the pinnacle of Halloween experiences is Universal Halloween. I love it. But those, because of the nature of how many people have to go through those parks, it's still a bit of a conga line, right? You're in a conga line and you're getting jump scared over and over again in these beautiful sets with amazing costumes and everything. But sometimes I feel like because you're in that constant conga line and because you keep bumping into these people that are saying this way, that are dressed in black, that are making sure you don't lose your direction, it does pull you out of it a little bit. You don't feel like you're the one having the experience. And I think that, you know, when you're trying to create a home haunt, the challenge is always budget. Right. I don't have the money of Universal Studios, but sometimes it's crafting a story and then it's what you don't see and it's the anticipation that makes that experience much richer. So, you know, I've done haunts in the past where we had such a good pre-show that people wouldn't go in. They were too scared to go in because the pre-show built up the storyline so much. And I kind of like, of course I want people to go in, but at the same time, you know, if you've achieved that level of, you know, people resonating with it and engaging with it and feeling something from it, I'm like, okay, I've hit the right note here, because if people feel that way and nothing has happened yet, then you know, like people come in with anticipation. But the challenge, of course, is when you do that, when you build that anticipation, you have to then deliver on it in the experience. So it has to meet that level of anticipation. Otherwise, it'll be a wet squib when people go in. So, yeah.
Do you find that desire to sort of like create that sense of anticipation, but also to be invitational is like translates to what you're trying to do with the space with Nick, like in terms of how you're setting up this memorabilia shop and these kinds of things?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know Nick and I have been back, and Nick texts me all the time. We're like, what do you think of this, Matt? What do you, I'm thinking of getting this. It's always something. And I think, I mean, you know, this is very much Nick's baby, so I don't want to claim any kind of responsibility for it at all. But, you know, Nick already articulated beautifully his passion for getting people into a particular mindset or feeling a particular way when they come in, right? So, you know, they're going to experience some of those things or see things that they haven't seen since they were a kid. You know, even down to like there's old Toys R Us signs in there, you know, the kind of things that you saw when you went to the store, which is super cool. And then what I've been trying to bring, and Nick mentioned it briefly, is, you know, kind of what does the space look like? So, you know, we've been working on lighting and, you know, how we light the cars, how we light that environment, and even to the point where when the movie's playing, the lighting will synchronize with the movie. So it will bring the film out of the screen into the physical space. And I think it's just always about, you know, you're constantly tweaking, like, well, how will people feel? What will happen when they come in? You know, what will their eye be drawn to? And with the shop, it's always going to be moving, right, Nick? There's cars are going to be in different positions, and you know, depending on, you know, what people's focus is. So, you know, there's a lot going on with that, but I think it's super exciting.
It's definitely going to be an evolving process, because, you know, the side that we're working on right now, the other side where the car is being built, eventually the cars will be built and then we'll open up that space. And, you know, Matt talks about his experience, you know, story driven experiences rather, for Halloween. We could kind of bring that to the shop down the road as well. So I'm just going to, you know, steal his thunder, obviously, and just bring it into the shop. But usually the way it works with me and Matt is like, hey, I want to do this. Can I do it? And then we're like, all right, well, you could do this, this, and this. I'm like, all right, well, you can make that happen, right? Like, all right, let's do it. So I'm a big ideas guy. And like I said, Matt is very complimentary to me, where he can develop the creative aspect of it and deliver on it. So we work pretty well together. And I just, like I said, I'm very excited about having people come in because not now being able to see not just the Ecto, but so many other cinema cars that are going to take you back to that time where you remember watching it as a kid, or, you know, bringing your kids now to see it in the theater. It's pretty cool. And, you know, speaking to a different point, right? So I have now 3 kids, and what I've come to find is that some kids are so used to just watching movies at home. Like, you know, obviously through COVID, the movie theater business has kind of suffered, and you see so many small theaters going out. And on top of that, some kids aren't used to like like, you know, when the movie first starts with that surround sound, it freaks them out. So I think this is kind of a fair compromise, as it's cooler than seeing it at home, but it might not be as intimidating for some smaller kids in a big theater. I mean, the screen's big. So like, and it's just you guys. So I think that kind of works for this as well. So you can have a small group. It's not as intimidating. It's still much cooler than watching it at home. And you get to play with a bunch of stuff while you do it. You can run around and do whatever you want. So yeah, there's a lot of things, you know, besides the nostalgia part that went into the thought process behind this project.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I love that. And I think it's so cool that like the plan that you have this sort of evolving plan for how do you make it, you know, a more interactive space, or a sort of increasingly engaging space, you know, for people to come into.
You know, you talk about that moment with surround sound. One of the other things, and, you know, this is on our list of jobs, right? The never ending list, Nick. Is the, you know, there will be a full surround sound system in that space as well, you know, with a big sub. And so you're going to get, you know, not only a large screen, but also you're going to get the sound experience as well, which is kind of awesome.
Well, you have a full plate of things that you're working on. The Ghost Tours sound amazing. I definitely want to come out to the shop. I want to encourage everybody to make sure you're taking a look at Experience Explorers in terms of, you know, this great stuff you're doing with the Home Haunt. But is there anywhere else that people might find you this October?
Oh, yeah. We got a busy schedule. I think the key is, you know, the key one is going to be New York City Comic Con in a few weeks. So we're going to be doing Ghost Tours all weekend. I know Hasbro's got a big announcement that they've been teasing. They have a panel there. So we're excited to see what that is about. But yeah, Comic-Con weekend, if you're in town, you'll definitely see the Ecto-1NJ and maybe one of the other cars. Who knows? Depends if Matt feels like driving in over by the Javits Center. So yeah, keep it locked. You'll definitely you know, see it. Give us a wave. And if you want to book a tour, like I said, hit GothamCinemaRides.com and book your tour for Comic-Con weekend.
I am eager to see what happens at New York Comic Con. I think that we have a pretty good sense that there's going to be a Hasbro announcement there, right? That they've come out and said to expect something at NYCC. Their senior like product developers or whoever it was were on social media talking about it a few weeks ago, and there's been stories on Ghostbusters News. And I don't know what they're announcing. Like, they haven't made it clear, obviously, except that I think we're pretty sure, like a lot of us, that it has something to do with an Ecto-1, given all of the various, I don't know, tires they've put on things like pins and stuff. And I don't think they've been particularly coy about this, if that makes sense. So I don't know what else they're announcing, but
if it's,
you know,
if it's a full-scale replica of Ecto-1, I mean, I'll happily sign up for one. I mean, I have one, but I definitely would buy another. I'm still holding out for a full-size slime blower because I'd love to see it done. But yeah, I mean, I you would imagine with the tire, it's got something to do with it. But I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. We're only a few weeks away here, so.
No, that's fine. You can have your slime blower too, as long as I get that Ecto that I absolutely want, desire, need, and will covet forever as long as I get it. It could literally be the last piece of Ghostbusters memorabilia I would buy if I got it. It shouldn't be, because I want to buy a lot more. But if I was only allowed to buy one more, and that was it, I would be okay with it. I would be okay. So we'll see. All right. We're all gonna find out together.
Yeah.
But you're gonna find out in person because you're gonna be there. I'm not gonna be there. So.
Well, I mean, I'll be outside, you know, driving people around, but somebody will give me some details or show me a picture or something, you know?
You're going to be like somebody at the Johnny Depp trial or something who has to like run the verdict outside, right? Like, I mean, people in flight suits come running outside the Javits Center. Yeah, there you go.
That'll be me. I'll run out of the panel and I'll come say, Nick, this is what it is.
Yeah, I like I said, I look forward to getting updates as I drop a tour, pick a tour, So, and not to steal anyone's thunder, but a buddy of mine that's building a 1A said I think he's going to have his car ready around Comic-Con time too. So you may see Ecto-1N1A around Comic-Con. I'm not sure. You got to wait on his announcement, but I know. Just talking to Greg, the 1A is super close, if not already done. So not only going to see the Ecto-1NJ. Fantastic job that team did. Marty, Greg, Kip, all those guys. It was fun to have it at my shop for a little bit before it got going. But I think this Halloween season, not only you're going to see the Ecto-1NJ, but I'm super excited to see the Ecto-1A roaming the streets in New York. And like I said to you earlier, I got my slime blower and my gigameter ready to go. So
I'm really excited about them putting that car on the street, and I've been watching some of the progress, and Greg was nice enough to share some videos with me. I actually contacted him and said, hey, would you want to maybe try and do an extraplasm pretty soon? And he said, I'm too busy wiring. And then he proceeded to send me videos of all of the signboards running and the lights running on the car. And I was like, you keep wiring. Let me know when you're done. But I'm really excited to see it when it's finished. The car does look great. I do want to know. I mean, I realize that his car is going to be at a serious weight disadvantage, but when's the drag race happening?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, they have I think it's a vet engine, or he can specify, but it's an LS engine. So, I mean, there's a lot, it's top heavy, but, I'm dealing with a 7-year-old, small block Chevy. Well, he's got something a lot more modern, but yeah, you know what? We'll put it on the table once he finishes it up, and we'll take it down Fifth Ave. We'll clear the streets. We'll make Matt hang from the building as the dragon. Scare traffic away, and we'll just rip him down Fifth Ave for a few blocks.
Dude, my fear would be with that LS engine is that if I'm hanging on the back parasailing like we planned, I might get hit in the face with a satellite dish. That's my concern.
Listen, more credit to them because, we've joked all the time, like Greg will run the lights on my car and everything. So with a roof rack like that, I can only imagine what he'll do with the lights. But it terrifies me to think about driving that car with all of that stuff up there, because I know what the wind resistance is with my roof rack, but forget about the 1A. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see it hit the road, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stories about what it's like to drive that car because of the amount of stuff that is on the roof, and it's kind of bonkers. And everything's up there so far. I mean, you look at his build photos, and as it keeps on going, you're like, he's going to get every component on here. He's proud of it. They're all proud of it, working on it. So I'm really excited for them, and I'm excited that the two cars are going to sort of exist together in the city. I think that your next interactive experience, just to throw this out there for you, you have to now take the two cars and you got to get two teams. You got to essentially say you can be a team and you can compete against another team. And these two Ectos will run around the city. They have to arrive at different locations. You have to accomplish several different busts. And it's essentially who can do it the fastest, right? It's derby style ghost busting.
I love that idea.
Ooh, Ghostbusters ghost hunt. Oh, I love this. This is a fantastic idea.
That would be great. I love that's a great idea. You don't know the monster you've just created, Jim. You don't know the beast that has been.
I'm going to be texting the group.
I'm going to block Nick for the next few weeks.
And listen, between Greg and I, you do not have people that are shy with the gas pedal with an Ecto. Matt's seen me drive through the city, and you've seen Greg drive through the city, so we have no problem whipping those cars around.
That's why when Nick says, do you want to drive it? I'm like, I could. I just don't know if I'll be able to drive it like you.
I'm going to name this the Ghost Derby Experience. It's derby style ghost busting. You have to catch as many ghosts as you can. It's I'm a huge fan of The Deadliest Catch. I have been for many years for some unknown reason as a vegetarian who hates boats because he gets seasick. Obviously, I love a show where they hunt crab. I've been watching it for 20 years for some reason, and I love it. But they have had derby style crab fishing on that show where it's about, catch as many crab as you can until the quota's up. So what if you had two teams of Ghostbusters and their respective Ecto-1s, and they had a number of different paranormal events they had to finish out before the end of the day? I like this idea. You can make it a game show. It's a great concept. Sponsored by Extraplasm.
Now the Grand Tour has been, it's the last episode of Grand Tour has happened. I think, this is what it is. It's a Grand Tour style, thing. You get a random challenge from, Jason Reitman will send you a text message to say, right, what you have to do next is you have to do this. You have to convert your Ecto into a vehicle that can travel over the East River to Queens without crossing a bridge. Like what?
Ghost Corps, if you're listening, we're going to need some cameos from some people.
And some cash.
Yeah. That's true, or else we'll be Ghostbusting on a budget.
Exactly. Yeah. And, and we've already spent the last of the petty cash. That's the deal. It's been spent on a DeLorean and a Jurassic Park video game. And I'm kidding. But hey, look, you're not an actual Ghostbuster unless you have arcade machines. That's been established in more than one Ghostbusters movie, right? You have to have arcade machines or you just don't do it right. So I think it's definitely lore. I think you're correct about that. Well, I am really excited about everything you have going on, and I'm hopeful that I'm going to get to see the space that you are creating out there in New Jersey. And again, people can check out everything you've got going on in terms of the Ghost Tours and the space that you're creating over at GothamCinemaRides.com, right?
That's it. You got it.
Okay. And beyond that, places to come and find you. I know, Matt, folks can find your content over at Experience Explorers over on YouTube, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Anywhere else people should be checking out?
If people are in New Jersey and they want to come to the haunt that we have going on, they can check out experienceexplorers.com, and it will give you all the details there of what nights we're running, and you can book tickets. It's free. It's always free, and people can just turn up if they want. That's also fine, but you can book a slot because we get pretty inundated, and so if you book a slot, you get priority to get in at that time.
Nice. Okay. Good to know. For those of you who might be interested in going and checking out, what's going on over with the time traveling house in New Jersey, then you should definitely check that out. Cause it sounds like a lot of fun. I gotta be honest. I really want to check that out. And I know several people who I will probably contact and say, you gotta go, cause Matt's cool. And I'm sure it's going to be great, even though I can't. So, and Nick, anything else people should be checking out, following, or looking at on the internets or social media or anything?
No, yeah. Like I said, you can always find, the Instagram Ecto-1NJ, and then, the Gotham Cinema Rides, website. The Instagram would be, launched the 1st of October. So yeah, come find us. And, we hope to host some events for some people coming up soon.
It sounds amazing what you've got on offer. And I hope people will take you up on the invite to go and do a lot of what you've got going on. You're both amazing people who do a lot of great creative stuff and who contribute in really meaningful ways. And I mean, we didn't talk about it in terms of this, but like the charitable stuff you've done with the car and the Ghost Tours has been great, right? I mean, I know that you've done that too in terms of helping out different organizations and AC Martin's family, et cetera. And so I'm so glad and grateful that, the two of you are out there creating all this cool interactive stuff and allowing fans to experience it. And if you're out there in the tri-state area and you have the opportunity to go check this out, absolutely go and meet these two folks because they're great people and see what they have on offer. Beyond that, I want to say thank you to both of you, Matt, Nick. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing what you got going on, for just being great friends. I hope I get to see you soon because I know there's not like a massive 40th anniversary in a movie coming out next year. But I'll be honest, like if there's a reason to come back on out to New York City for a 41st anniversary, which might seem less amazing in terms of being a milestone, it's that I get to hang out with people like you who I really enjoy. So thank you both for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks for having us. It's always a pleasure, buddy.
Appreciate it.
And one final thing before we go, Nick,
yeah,
are we going to get to use the Stanley Cup logos this year that you had designed for the Ecto to be in the Rangers parade that have never been talked about until just now? Because I really need the New York Rangers to now win the Stanley Cup, not just because I love the New York Rangers, but because I know that you almost had an opportunity to bring the car to the New York Rangers parade and have logos of Moogly holding the Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah, big shout out to Kip for those creating those. We were so close. I don't know how we lost to I don't know how Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. It's a hockey team in Florida. It doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. They're an expansion team, and they once upon a time took Van Beesbrook, and they had him, and then they did things with him, and we didn't do. Okay, but we'll leave this all aside for the non-hockey fans.
The Everglades regularly freeze over, which is why you have all that skating prowess there.
Only in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the Halloween Horror Nights house, do the Everglades freeze over.
That's true. That's true. You are right. I will confirm that on Friday night.
Jim, you have my word that if the Rangers make a cup run and they win the Stanley Cup, my Ecto will be in that ticker tape parade, because I have two things that I'm passionate about in life. It's Ghostbusters and the New York Rangers, aside from my family. And yeah, I will have those logos on the car. They will be red and blue like bars. It will be a day to remember. Hopefully, I don't know, the champagne would be flowing. I have no idea. I'd be drinking from a Stanley Cup. We'll see what happens. But yeah, if we get to that point in late June, yes, it will be in there, and we will debut those logos.
Your shared passions, I think, are part of why we are friends. and you said to me, I said something to you and then mentioned a Rangers thing, and you said you had to bring up the Rangers. And I was like, of course. Like, so there was no way we're getting out of the podcast without that happening. And I appreciate you indulging it. And I appreciate the two of you so much.
Hey, likewise, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you again soon. That about wraps things up for Extraplasm this week. I want to say one final thank you to Matt and to Nick for coming on the podcast this week and letting us know about some of the great opportunities they have in store for folks this Halloween season. If you're in the tri-state area and you have the opportunity to go ride an Ecto-1NJ, do it. It is absolutely worth the experience. Whatever it's going to cost you to get in the city or whatever you need to do to make it happen, it is absolutely worth your time, and you will cherish the memory forever, I promise you. It's something that I wish everybody would go and do, and I think it's so great that they are expanding the ways that people can sort of engage the car and engage in the different interactive experiences of Ghostbusters fans. So if you're in the tri-state area, get in touch with them. You'll appreciate getting this done before the end of your Halloween season for sure. I also want to say thank you as usual to Brendan Pearce of Badoochi Studios, who provides our logo and the visual identity for the podcast, as well as vaporwave artist MAGNAVOX, whose version of Ghostbusters serves as our theme song. And of course, I want to say thank you to you. Thanks for listening and tuning in. If you've shot me an email recently and I haven't gotten back to you yet, I apologize. I've been a bit running around like crazy, and I'm going to be leaving town again to head out to see my folks. So you may find that I actually answer email better that way, because I'm stuck on a plane for like 6 hours with internet. But my point being that if I haven't gotten back to you over the last week because you've dropped me some messages in my inbox, your response is coming. I really enjoy hearing from you all, and it's been nice to have people sort of check in and see how things are going and just get the lay of the land about how we're all feeling about Ghostbusters stuff. So if you have anything you want to share with the podcast, you can, of course, reach out to me at extraplasmpodcast@gmail.com, Extraplasm on Instagram, Extraplasm on X, Extraplasm Podcast on Facebook, and, of course, you can find episodes, although you can't interact with me as well, on Extraplasm Podcast's YouTube channel. So, and if you're not subscribed to one of those things, if you haven't liked one of those things, go do that. It helps the podcast, helps it to get out there and reach more people, and that means that we get more insights into what people are doing in the fandom. So I thank you again for tuning in and for being here every week. I'm excited about Halloween coming. We got so much more going on. I haven't been to Horror Nights yet, but I'm hoping to by the end of the month, so we can sort of talk about that as well. New York Comic Con is going to reveal so many cool things, so it's an exciting time to be a Ghostbusters fan, and there's great things right around the corner. Until we get to see them, remember, as Ernie Hudson says every week,
try to have fun and always keep on busting. Take care.